Hello, everyone. It is now time for Gut Check Project COVID file number 4. We have an incredible guest today. Joining your host, Dr. Ken Brown, we now have Mr. Chris Austin from Waxahachie, Texas. He is here with C-Long Medical, and you may have seen some of his incredible, essentially they're vent hoods. They are hyperbaric vent hoods that allow people to breathe better. Chris, thank you so much for taking time out of, I know, is a very busy morning as you prepare for more work at C-Long Medical down here in Waxahachie. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing well. We're feeling good all in all. And first, I need to apologize a little bit, and it's starting already. My voice starts to go away early and earlier every day as much talking and stuff we do. But anyway, we're doing well. Just not much sleep and a whole lot of talking, but it's all great. It's all wonderful. People are being so supportive. It's just, I can't even get my head around it still.
Well, no, it's awesome. We're obviously in the middle of the pandemic here with the COVID crisis. But Ken, you want to speak a little bit about what it is that you saw on the TV and why you called me and how I ended up reaching out to Chris?
Absolutely. I may sound a little different because the internet went out at the studio, so I'm doing this by phone. So this is
ours here. Yeah, ours is out here too.
That's yeah. So you and I are feeling the same thing here. So I was watching, and I kind of joke about this, that I've actually become my dad, and I like 60 Minutes now. So I watch 60 Minutes.
I'm coming with my granddad, so I'm with you there.
And they did this incredible segment. First of all, they led up to it with the stress that the New York doctors are under, followed by your segment, which was just incredible. And I don't want to give anything away, but I just sat there and went, holy cow, he's a neighbor. We're here in Dallas, you're in Waxahachie, Texas. And fortunately, like a good Texan, you woke up early and agreed to do this interview just because you're a nice guy. So it's pretty exciting.
I mean, I appreciate all that, but we've been up sort of working here for over an hour already, and we've been starting at 6 because of the crisis, and staying here till 2 in the morning. The other day I was here till 4 in the morning, the day before yesterday. Just the way flows go. So, but thank you very much.
So, Chris, before we started the interview, you let me know that C-Long Medical has been around basically doing these hyperbaric helmets since 1985, but you ended up acquiring the company and moving it from Kentucky down to Waxahachie, Texas back in 2016. What drew Chris Austin to C-Long Medical and then to bring it down here to Waxahachie?
That's a good question. The whole thing started because we have a mutual friend who lived up by Lake Possum Kingdom, and he manufactures hyperbaric hoods. There's a company called Techna Industries, and through mutual friends and something like that, we became friends. And I have diabetes, so I have neuropathy pretty bad, and was having a lot of problems with my legs. And he said, Chris, come up here. Let's do some dives. Let's fix that. And I didn't really know anything about it at the time. So I said, well, I wanted to come see him anyway. It's a beautiful area up there. I went up and stayed a while and took some treatments, a week's worth of treatments, and it was incredibly life-changing what happened. I could drastically reduce my insulin. The neuropathy, I'm sorry, it just went away for not forever. It was gone for about a month. So it was definitely a changing event for me. I mean, a whole bunch of other things happened that some people say doesn't happen, but my eyesight got better, my hearing, my sense of smell. It's like a Popeye when I ate this big can of spinach, kind of. And, I said, but getting off track here, kind of. I use the C-Long hood. That's what I use for my treatments. And because that's what he uses. He was pretty good friends with the previous owner. And after a while, I'd gone back and done several more, and same results. And he called me, Philip called me and said, "Chris, I need to talk to you." So, okay, great, no problem. Got up there and did another trip, and he said, "You know that product you're using, that hood? Yeah, that's pretty cool." He goes, "It's probably going to go out of business. The owners have been around a long time, and they're ready to, retire and move on. And nobody has taken up on his offer to buy the company." And he stated that the company is so important and the product is so important, I really think you ought to buy it. Because I had just retired after 30 years as an aerospace engineer.
Nice.
And that's what we did.
Wow, that is incredible. So I'm actually far more endeared to the story. You were drawn to it because of your own personal experience and benefit. You knew you needed to save the technology so that other people could have that benefit. That drew you into it. You were in retirement and you said, "This is something that we can do." You had no idea that there was going to be a pandemic, though, around the corner in 2020, did you?
Not really.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a huge cascade of events in my life for probably 3 or 4 years before that, up to that time, and significantly after that time, made this all possible. No, it mandated it, that this was going to happen. We knew about the aspects of the potential for a great life-saving product for non-invasive ventilation, and it just spoke to my heart and my mind right there. Said, "This is what we're doing. This is our destiny, and that's why we're here."
That's incredible. Wow.
So you said that there was a gentleman who was at C-Long. Was C-Long Medical created simply for the manufacturing of the hyperbaric helmet?
Correct. No, C-Long. That's a big story, but he previously owned a very large injection molding corporation.
Okay.
And a man by the name of Shorty Long, who was an acquaintance of his, who was a professional deep sea diver, said, "I need something like this, and it doesn't exist." And they drew up a sketch on a napkin kind of thing, and the helmet was born. And Shorty Long said, "I'm a diver. I've got a big diving business and stuff here. I don't want it. You run with it. You've already got all the equipment and all the stuff." So they did.
Well, you kind of hinted at it already because of your own revelations on how you began to feel better. I had a question written down, which was to ask you before the COVID situation, if beyond the helmet being an intermediary step before, or hopefully saving somebody from intubation, if there were specific diseases that it worked for. But you already mentioned retinopathy and diabetes. Do you know if anybody like with sickle cell anemia, what are those types of patients that also benefit from this type of hyperbaric helmet?
Well, as you guys know, in the medical field, there's a lot of things we have to tread lightly on as far as what we say.
Oh, okay.
Things. But no, I'm going to say it. I'm just giving you that caveat up front, because the vast majority of the indications that we have, I can't even count how many people have told us this. Plus, as we became so close to the industry and the process, I've personally been there and talked to amazing things. Children with autism, PTSD, of course, an incredible array of soft tissue damage, incredible positive results for traumatic brain injury. And one of them in particular, if you look up Joe Namath, the famous New York Jets quarterback, and a few more, but he's got all kind of stuff on the YouTube and various places about him telling his story about his whole life was changed due to 100 dives in hyperbaric chamber. Completely corrected all of his brain damage. I mean, I could go on with this kind of statement for hours and hours, just one after the other.
Chris, can I clarify something real quick? So does the helmet act like a hyperbaric chamber?
No, it just provides, well, in the hyperbaric chamber, it provides the pure oxygen that works with, the atmospheric pressure to about 3 ATA or 60, 70 feet, something like that. And the pure oxygen coming into the respiratory system gets supercharged in every single cell of your body. Every cell gets this amazing product that the cells know how to use to do their job. So all of a sudden they start doing their job better than they ever have, and doing all kind of great stuff. And cells that a lot of people have said, you'll never regenerate these cells, and those cells are once they die, they're gone. And that's not true, at least for a vast majority of them, like brain cells and heart cells and things like that.
And that's
plus one thing I forgot to add, probably the most important part, is during the process of the hyperbaric treatments, your body starts producing a huge amount of its own pluripotent stem cells. So the cells now are happy and fed. They start grabbing all these stem cells and just going to work, repairing stuff.
Nice. No, all of that makes complete sense with the way that we've tried to help and repair people neurogenically, et cetera. I've got another question for you, and Ken and I debated on how clinical that we wanted to get on this particular series, but where you're taking it, it's almost inevitable. Part of the problem that some of the people are worried about, or the physicians are worried about with the patients now with COVID, is that some of their red blood cells may actually lose a little bit of the oxygen carrying capacity, and they've decided that they may need to look at things that are hyperbaric and different type of modalities that do exactly what you just talked about, supercharge extemporaneous, I'm mispronouncing that word, but the extra cells around them. Is that something you found with your helmet could work?
Yeah, that's what it's for. You bet it would work.
That's awesome.
It does work. It has been working for that for 35 plus years. But one of the most important things too, I keep saying that about everything, so they're all important, is angiogenesis. Your body starts forming new blood vessels and getting blood to places that may have been either starved due to previous conditions, or that the body senses that now these things need to be repaired for whatever reason it may be, that the virus could have done damage to just whatever reason.
So before the helmet came along, people were scrambling, and the word on the street was we were going to run out of ventilators, and everybody knows that usually in the ballpark of 10,000, 12,000 is the low end on the amount of money that they'd have to spend per unit. Tell us a little bit about what the helmet cost the medical community and where you've moved the price since then, Chris.
Well, the helmet before all this happened was $162.70, and it's still $162.70. But that's the basic model, which at the time we produced and provided that based on usage before, like Dr. Kress and others who were doing the testing. But once this the COVID-19 epidemic started, we became much more popular, and a larger number of doctors started using it, and people started figuring out there's different things that can be done. There's different accessories, particularly Dr. Kress and Patel. There's different accessories that really would help us, and they would send us videos, and we'd correspond, and then we would go, and we have a great team we pair with called Impact. They would 3D print the stuff. I'd stretch it all out on a piece of paper or something, and they would make the design, and we'd come back, and we liked it or we didn't like it, we'd send it to Dr. Pell, Dr. Kress, and Dr. Patel, and they'd critique it, and if it was a good product, we'd make it right there. We could have it made in an amount of hours on the 3D printer, ship it back to him, and we've made a bunch of improvements. So long story, but we've got a significant number of additional accessories, and that's what makes it possible to use this without a ventilator or any type of equipment. all you need is wall oxygen and wall O2 and a special part that we created to plug that into the system and a peak valve. And you can do all this with no equipment.
Oh, that's incredible.
That is incredible.
That's the holy grail, because in third world countries, people lined up in the halls, which is already happening in New York, Boston, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. You can treat them on with just 3 quarter-inch lines.
Wow, that's great. Hey, look, when I saw the interview on 60 Minutes, you did tell a very unique story about how somebody may have helped you infuse a little cash into the company.
Yeah, talking about George Whitesides and Virgin Galactic. Because there's been a lots of them, actually. No cash per se, which is another complete story. We've had no assistance from federal, state, local dog catchers, nothing. And which is good, because Charlie, our security, she's not good for the dog catchers. We were on Wall Street Journal first. That was the first one to really contact me. And Mr. Whitesides, who was the CEO of Virgin Galactic, called me up. Somehow he got a link to me. Well, I know I did, to a man named, well, we won't go to that. But he said, Chris, I really like what you do. What can we do to help? And, we talked a little bit. And I said, really, what I need, sir, is more RF welding machines. And we have a great partner in a company called Selectric up in New Jersey. Walter, the owner, built 4 machines for us at risk, which means he didn't have any funds because I didn't have any money. He built them all. They were sitting there ready, all shiny, polished up, ready to load into an 18-wheeler to bring down here. And I still didn't have any money. So when I talked to Mr. Whitesides about that, he goes, what's this guy's phone number? I gave him the phone number. We chatted and went our separate ways. And about 2 hours later or so, Walter calls me and said, somebody just called and paid your entire bill.
That's incredible.
Awesome.
So, praise God. 2 days later, they were here.
And that's fantastic.
And they're now up and running. The really first day with a full crew was yesterday. We've been slowly training people as they come in. Primarily, most of them are all volunteers from very, very close locally to our location, because we know we can't rely on someone who has a long commute or, we had to verify their lifestyle. They don't continue to run around out there and go to Walmarts and all these places to get a potential for contracting the virus. So it took a little while to get the whole crew. But the first full day was yesterday, and we hit our goals spot on for how many we created, and was able to provide them to Pennsylvania and who else? Several people that we really wanted to get them to the hot spots in the same day. They shipped overnight yesterday.
So how many are you able to produce in a 24-hour period with this full crew?
Sorry. The first days are always more difficult. These are new operators. We only had one experienced operator, which is our son, Chris Jr., and he was mostly spent training. So that caveat is this was very slow training brand new people who had never done anything like this. So we still got over 200 out in one day, which was a good start. But we need to be, and we will be, at least by next week, we'll be knocking on 1,000. So that's our goal.
That is amazing.
Heck yeah.
I have a quick question for you, since I didn't realize that it was that. I thought there was more equipment needed. Do you see?
So there is. Ventilator, and all that kind of stuff hooks on it too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you see any, with your engineering background, is there any way to modify it so that people with a CPAP machine at home could use this in any particular way?
We already do. Anything, CPAP, BiPAP, ventilators, anything like that where you can control your positive pressure. But you don't even need to do that. I'm looking for, all you need is a PEEP valve to control the outflow to maintain your desired pressure inside the helmet. And that's all you need.
So you're going to dial, you'll dial up the atmosphere is basically what's going to be inside of the bariatric helmet, or the helmet.
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah, that's all the words. But you'll dial up the atmospheres or the amount of pressure that you want in there with that peak valve, correct? And then
yeah, and the source, as long as you have a good, clean, viable, relatively consistent source for the inflow, which we're finding new sources for that all the time.
Sure.
You just control the outflow to maintain the pressure inside.
Well, you know, a lot of the patients who end up having problems with pneumonia lung collapse, for instance, it's because they lose that alveolus, right? And it seems to me like what you've got here is something that Ken and I talked about in our last episode, which is how do we give someone positive end expiratory pressure? And one of the ways to do that is obviously by having a good steady form of PEEP. And this is far more comfortable than either a tube down the throat or a big face mask like a CPAP or a BiPAP mask. This just seems far more convenient. It allows the patient to not have something directly on their face. It's pretty incredible.
Is there any chance you have
the mask leak?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The cell phone delays. I'm not used to it. The mask leak. As you apply all of this pressure, they want to push away from the patient's face.
Sure.
So you really can't get any kind of a insured pressure unless you just strap the thing on like what is his name from one of them scary movies, which is very uncomfortable and things like that. And they still have a large potential for leaking around the bridge of the nose. And there's nothing against them. They're fantastic products. It's just not the best suited thing for this kind of positive pressure.
I agree. Well, Chris, I see that you have turned your shoulder a little bit, and you might even have some equipment back there that you could probably show us on how it works. Unless you're embarrassed, I don't know, but it looks like a pretty awesome piece of equipment to me. Would you mind showing us how you apply
it? Sure. Hold on a second.
This is great. I love this guy.
Dude, what a cool situation. He just said, I liked what this does. I'm going to do this at home. That's incredible.
This is the PEEP bell. I know I had one sitting over on my work.
Oh, nice.
Table. So that's kind of the important aspect of it. The hood itself, as it has been for a long, long time, is basically a bubble, a soft space helmet, clear trash can, whatever you want to call it. The key is that this is made out of a very robust yet soft and clear material, because we can sit there and squash them down like this to make them easy to ship and store.
Sure.
Push them out like that. Then we have the neck seal part, which this one's already been cut for me. You get a cut template, a way to measure your neck with a little tape measure. And then you cut this out, and if you can look kind of closer, you might see some graduated rings on there.
I do.
The instructions say, okay, if your neck is 17 inches, you cut the third ring from the top or something to that effect. And then once you have it cut for your neck, and they cut rings, apply an interference. In other words, we've had a problem with people saying, okay, well, this is cut from my neck. If I'm a 17 and I cut it to this line, it says 17, it won't be tight enough. So I need to cut another line to make it tight on me or loose on me. Don't do that. That's all figured in there.
Right.
So that's kind of one of the problems we have. People say, oh, they leak. I go, how'd you do it? No, you didn't. No, don't add or subtract. Cut it the way the paper says.
Hey, while we're talking about that, what about somebody what about a woman with really long hair? Would you have to pull it up, or a man with their hairy neck? Would we want to shave that? Or if they have like a central line, you just kind of go ahead and stay with the same cut, just try to keep those things out of the way?
No, it has to be out of the way. That's for hyperbarics, you want to do it, but for intubation, you have to do it.
Sure.
And it's like people who are firefighters or other type of a profession, and they use masks, they have to shave their face.
Okay.
So it's the same thing. And this ring has 2 ports, which doesn't matter which one, they're not directional. So you put the inflow and the outflow through these ports. Now that's the standard part. Oh, one thing, this is what we call an accessory port. It's a tapered, hollow cone, per se, with the same graduated lines. So if you want to put a feeding tube or another O2 line or sensors for checking oxygen or carbon dioxide, we can do all that through there. And then this is put on the patient's head, which I will do. And I'll just say that this is the easiest one there to put on somebody's head. See, most of them takes 2 or 3 people. Make sure it's got a good seal. Now it's on.
Oh, wow.
That fast. Not exactly straight, but you get the idea.
I do.
And then this has got a big seal.
Oh, wow.
And then you also have ports here for feeding the lines here. And it's not an add to, it's kind of an instead of, because some patients are more comfortable with it up here. Some doctors like it here. Or say that where the hose comes from, it comes from here, below.
I saw how quickly, Chris, you were able to apply it, and then even more importantly, how fast you were able to disassemble it. So a concern of a patient that needed to be accessed, like their airway, would be, it's incredibly rapid. It looks like to me.
2 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty.
2 seconds.
Nothing to it. Nothing to it at all.
And there's, because of this usage, we provide this type of a clip, which clips the 2 parts of the helmet together. So under larger pressures, they won't separate. And it goes underneath your arm, and one hooks in the back, one hooks in the front, and you have one under both arms, but holds it down very secured. And there's a quick release feature. You can't see a little pin right there. All I got to do is go pop, and the lines and everything separates. So it's basically virtually no delay, still under 3 seconms.
So do you have, is there a maximum pressure that's recommended for the helmet?
That's depending on the respiratory therapist and the physicians. But we test every single part to a half PSI, which is far above anything they would ever need.
Okay. And then what about like Untitled CO2 measuring the respiratory rate? Do y'all have like a device, or are you able just to use a normal Accessory Port line to make that happen?
Normal stuff. Yeah.
That is incredible.
Chris, I want to ask you a quick question about the University of Chicago study. When I was reading it was stopped early because it was proven to be so much more effective than the mask that they didn't even need their number to actually completely enroll. It was so successful that they stopped it early. How did you end up getting University of Chicago involved?
Well, they came to us because they knew of the product, and it's made in USA, and they liked the multi-ports and several other aspects of it. And we also have a product we call multi-patient. It actually has a different design, which you have the neck seal part like this. See, this comes right now fully assembled, ready to go, sealed together with an O-ring inside it, so it's unable to leak. We have another one that this part can be taken apart after the fact, and then the patients only need their own neck seal portion, so you can reuse them over and over and over. And he really liked that aspect of it, so that's what he wanted. We're the only one that has that. But for this horrible virus, we have to make as many parts as possible, which is an unbelievable task. So we streamlined it. We used to have a complete line of a bunch of different things. And we've ceased production on virtually everything except what you see right there. So we can pump out more of those because once you get rid of all the other stuff and concentrate on just a small number of parts, you can get out much more.
Man, that is That's an incredible piece of equipment. I wish that we'd had that and been trained on that back in the anesthesia education days. That's pretty awesome.
This will be one of those things that when we show it to medical students 10 years from now, it'll be a revolutionary change in how we treat people with ARDS, with pneumonia and everything.
No joke.
And people are finding things, it seems like every day, but just pretty much monthly, different applications, different benefits, exciting things that we find out, like especially when we found out about autism, PTSD, brain damage. I can go on and on and on. Several autoimmune diseases. And the only thing that it really got used for prior to this, because we could never get any traction at all with other than Chicago and a couple of other places that have been doing studies, like Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins and some pretty prestigious places, and people got it. But we just couldn't get traction with certification. But now that's kind of changed.
Yeah, it's kind of changed.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit. Well, Chris, Ken, did you have any other questions for Chris?
I just have one question for you, Chris. How can we help you?
That's right.
Really, I've said this over and over, and it sounds kind of shallow maybe, but we need money. We have to buy more tooling to increase the flow for our raw material providers. We have to, we're going to go through certification and stuff to make sure we're on where we need to be for our paperwork, for FDA stuff. And we need more equipment, we need more people, and we need a bigger building, because right now we're working out of our home. This is my living room. So that's what we need. And people have been doing so many amazing things right now with at the grassroots level. We have quite a few corporations helping us, like Virgin Galactic, GM, some things like that. But they're doing what they can for keeping us propped up, or actually pushing us up, helping us get going. But and at the suggestion, almost at the command of a whole bunch of people who said, "You need a GoFundMe page. We want to help you. We get it. We know what you're doing and where you're going." So I just stuck up a GoFundMe page that there's a link to on our website. And I'll be glad to send you the URL too. That it's gone so much. I can't wrap my head around it, and it just started last Friday or Saturday.
Well, we're going to push it out also. Definitely. And
we're going to be giving updates via the webpage. Right now, we haven't really had I can't do it. My son or myself would normally do it, but we can't. He's making the products and now leading the crew back there. So we don't get as much information on there as we like, or on our webpage, but we've got some friends from church helping us now. So hopefully we'll be able to get the latest and greatest.
Man, it's just an incredible story. And I'm obviously, I wish that you didn't have to suffer with the diabetes and the retinopathy, but I'm so glad that you had it and that you found somebody at Possum Kingdom to show you everything. It's just awesome.
That's some of the events that happened. Even my previous career, that why I wanted to retire, and God is good. That's the best thing I can say. So many things and so many people, and any one of those things, we wouldn't have been on this path. So
that's awesome.
That is incredible. And the fact you're probably working harder in your retirement than you ever have.
I got to go back to my career to rest. But I would never do that. This is what we were supposed to do. We just didn't know it yet.
I believe it. I look at you and I realize that your life was built to be right here where you are in this moment, And you're going to change the destiny of so many people. And I want to thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. And it's not just us. It's people like yourselves that get the word out and get it. You know, you see it as a professional in the industry, but you also see it as an individual. And that's a big plus, is to see the look. And if you got time, I'll tell one story. Yesterday, we were working like crazy, and I can tell you untold numbers like this. And we've had to secure the facility here because we were having hundreds and hundreds of people just show up to try to help, which is great. But it's, you know, the publicity and stuff. And they'd be knocking on our doors all day and all night. So I just drove from, you know, Wisconsin. Here I am. Great people. And that, I mean, we'd all be just tearing up and bawling from the stuff these people would say and what they wanted to do. And some of them are still here, by the way, showing up in their campers and said, I'm here to help as a volunteer. Whatever do you need? Anyway, this lady shows up and she says, I just came from Chicago directly. And because of the sheer volume of phone calls we've been getting, people aren't getting through. Internet, as you know, goes down. Phones are just completely clogged up. Emails, you have them getting close to 1,000 a day. So she couldn't get through. He said, we have such a dire need. I mean, I have people right now that need this. So I just jumped on a plane and flew down here hoping I could just see you. So our people at the gate let her in and came and found me, and she told her story and she started crying and bawling and stuff. And let's just say we were able to help her. And she's headed back home today.
And that's
Amazing.
A fantastic story. Chris, as we close out, don't hang up. But I do want to thank everybody here at Gut Check Project. Do us a favor, just share the story. It's an honor to have Chris on with us today from C-Long Medical. This is Chris Austin, president and owner of C-Long Medical in Waxahachie, Texas.
Just president.
I'm sorry?
Said not owner, just president.
Oh, sorry. Just president.
My wife and my daughter-in-law, who's a doctor of physical therapy, they're the owners.
Oh, nice. So he knows the owners pretty well at C-Long Medical.
That's right. You sleep with one of them.
Yeah. Chris, you might want to talk to the owners about how hard they're making you work. I mean,
yeah, no joke.
Yeah.
Hey, Ken, anything to close out the show? Hey, Chris, like I said, hang on to the end.
Right,
Everyone, episode 4, like and share. Chris Austin of C-Long Medical. Let's get the word out. Let's work together on this COVID crisis, and we're going to pull through together. We'll talk to everybody soon.